Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and we are ready for another egg cutting. This one will be clutch 15. And I know somewhere somebody is saying, this lying bastard, because he told us that he was going to show us every single clutch in order as he cut them and did all this. Was going to be super transparent. And I just saw clutch 13, didn't see clutch 14, and now you're showing me clutch 15. So what secret shenanigans are you hiding? Or did clutch 14 epically fail and you just not want to show it because, you know, you're just like everybody else? No, clutch 14 was a bunch of boas. So they were born live. It is kind of hard to film live birth. It just doesn't run on your schedule. But I will tell you, and we will do an update on clutch 14. We have to do that at Kurt's place. I think we've already done that once, actually. But we did have, was it 26 live? One stillborn, correct? Kurt's shaking his head and saying that is yes. And out of those 26, 25 were perfect. One of them kind of had this big old bulgy eye we're still dealing with. Everything, as far as I know so far, is eating. One of them not on its own just yet, but everybody else just took right away to food. Bulging eye is a little slow to catch up, probably because he's seeing it weird. I don't know. But anyway, that is the deal. So that's why we're skipping clutch 14. We're not hiding anything. It just didn't have eggs to cut. It was live babies. So we're going to go ahead and move these. Oh, you're not all stuck together anymore. Okay. And then I will tell you, you're not stuck together. That's always a good sign. What we're dealing with. You're not stuck. There, you guys are. So as they get closer and closer to hatching, some of those bonds tend to break down where they were stuck. And I don't think I ever wrote a number. I did write a number on that one. I'll set you back up. This is actually the time when it's fairly important for them to be the right direction because their head's probably that air bubble. So this is not going to be a clutch that's going to blow your mind. Sometimes we just throw a couple snakes together because we don't really have much of a plan for them. In this case, that's what happened. We have our het pied knot, which is just a normal. That was supposed to be het pied, but is not. We are very creative in our names here at Olympus Reptiles. And we said, well, what's not working real hard because it usually lays a lot of eggs. We have a Spotnose pastel we weren't doing a whole lot with this year. We said, you know what, dude, you can handle one more chick. We put them together, and bam, here we got, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 eggs. 9 eggs. I probably, in retrospect, should have used a male that contained a super because I have a potential to make, you know, odds are 2 to 3 normals here, which is just some fodder I'm going to have to, like, get rid of. But that is what it is. Hopefully we get all pastel spot noses, but we're not going to know that until I start cutting these bad boys open. So let's cut the one I laid in the wrong position for a few seconds first. I do not much like the feel of this shell, I'll be honest. Now, if this egg's bad, so I say I don't like the feel of its shell, it's not because it was rolled over for 2 seconds. It just feels very thick. Very strong, a little bit of blood. That's actually a good sign. I'm actually happy to see that in this case. We could just have a thick eggshell. Starting to feel a little bit better. Okay, there's a baby in there. From here, it's hard to say if that's anything. If anything, it'd be a spot nose. A little bit of movement there. Oh yeah. Well, it is good. It just didn't feel as soft as I would normally like on the shell, which means it may be good we cut it. We may have to have some thicker shells. It would have been a little harder to slice out of. In looking, if you put a gun to my head and said name the morph, I'd tell you that probably is going to be a spot nose. It's just because the pattern looks funky, but it's certainly not a guarantee. I'm about 55% convinced, which means it's kind of a guess. Moving on to this one, also feels kind of thick. So yeah, I'm probably going to be happy I'm cutting these. Oh, here we got the combo. There's a little nose right there. So that is definitely pastel. It could be a spot nose pastel. Nice, fat, healthy baby. And again, see where this pattern is kind of floating. It's just kind of wonky looking. That's what we're going off of since we can't see the head, but it's still a guess. This one is really full. So we're going to make that snip, make our mess. Now on this one here, if you put a gun to my head and said name it, I would say probably just a normal. It doesn't seem as crazy of a pattern to me. And looking, definitely not pastel. It could be Spotnose still again. That's just so hard to tell until they're out and you can kind of see the whole snake. But there's nothing in there getting me super excited. Got some egg goop on me. The alcohol will help dry those out a little bit. And another one with no pastel. And again, there's nothing in there I could really call. Not feeling too like, oh my goodness on that one. Some clutches, y'all, are like this. You know, especially when you're doing like one of these clutches where it's just like, hey, there's no sense in wasting the female. Some other males like my Suma were working too hard already and I didn't want to work them more. So I thought, man, we're not doing a whole lot of Spotnose and it can do some cool stuff with combos. You throw it there. That sounds going to be hard to call until it's out, but it's nothing looking too shocking to me. So right now, I'd say we got a couple normals, maybe a Spotnose, and probably a Spotnose pastel. That's what I would guess. But again, a lot of that is just guessing. I could be completely wrong on everything but the pastel gene. I'm very confident when I say pastel. We're due to get more pastels here. See, and this one was one that can fool you because you look down here and you're going to see a really light color. But when you look in there, don't get too much blood in there, it's not light. So that is not going to have pastel in it. With no more than we can see, other than the fact I made a bloody hell of a mess in there. It's going to be impossible to tell. But again, not a super impressive egg. You're probably starting to hear a little like, disappointment in my voice because we got 9 eggs. And unless these other 3 are pastel, we missed on the one evident gene, which kind of sucks. But, you know, it's not like this is going to be a make or break clutch for value anyway. So mostly I'm just happy for healthy babies. Hey, there we're getting one that's an evident pastel. Pastel Spotnoses are, you know, they're a decent one. But pastels are not going to make a ton of money on. You're alive. That's good. Single gene Spotnose we're not going to make a ton of money on. So this was never meant to be that clutch that I'm like hanging my hat on to pay the bills around here. It's just, this is kind of making babies to make babies, which is not really how you want to run your business. We always talk about planning most of your pairings out, and you should, but you're always going to have a couple like this every now and then where it's just like, well, I got this big old girl laying around and she needs to do something to earn her keep, and she decides to make me a bunch of normals. Well, that one's Spotnose. So there, if you look really close, you can see on the head, and you can see that mark right there. Not a pastel, but that is definitely Spotnose, no doubt about it. So we, like I said, we're gonna have some single gene Spotnose. The pattern here isn't giving it away for me on what I can see, other than a little bit of like speckling down here. There's not enough wonkiness for me to go like, oh, that's Spotnose. But when I can see the head like that, see that big blushing mark right there, that little funky stamp they have, it's a definite Spotnose. So there you go. That one we could tell on the egg. You can only tell when they start sticking their heads up for sure on the Spotnose. And Spotnose, for those not familiar, is a gene that by itself is not really anything that I get too excited about. But it's something you kind of want to have in your collection because in combos, it can really come out and shine. That looks like a normal to me from here. Like totally. Yeah, so still alive. So we completely screwed the pooch on the odds on this clutch, it appears, which is okay. If I'm gonna screw the pooch on some odds, let it be on this clutch. For the love of God, I would rather miss the odds here and smoke him in an Xanthic clutch or smoke him in the Freeway clutch or something of that nature and miss on this, because this is not, I mean, even if we killed it, you're not going to have a high-end clutch here making you lots of income. You know, it's not going to pay your rat bill for a few months or anything like that. This is things that, you know, they're good to have. I wouldn't hesitate to add a single gene Spotnose or even a Spotnose pastel to my collection. We use ours quite a bit because of what Spotnose can do in the combo. But if you're looking to add a Spotnose down the road, One thing, whether you get it from us or somebody else, I'm going to tell you this because nobody else mentions it that often, but I want you to think of Spotnose like you think of spider. And what I mean by that, and again, I am not anti-spider, but you do have to be cautious of what you breed it with. Treat this the same. Keep this shit out of your champagne. Keep it out of your spider. Be very cautious doing super Spotnose. I don't do them because anything, they have that same kind of wobble that a spider does. Anything in that kind of wobbly complex, you should not pair together. That's champagne, I believe Woma, don't quote me on the Woma, spider, Spotnose. And I know I'm missing another one. There's another one out there. Just treat it like that. Nobody talks about this one. Nobody talks about we shouldn't breed Spotnose. We shouldn't own Spotnose. We should get rid of Spot. Nobody's going to talk about that with this or with champagne. But truth be told, everybody, you should be treating that shit just like you treat spider. I'll go a step further. For those of you who say, I don't want spider in my collection because I don't want to deal with wobble, if you truly feel that way, you probably shouldn't have Spotnose in your collection. You probably shouldn't have champagne in your collection. Just being honest with you. If you're okay with those, you should probably rethink your thoughts on spider because spider probably shows it a little more than the other ones do, but it's kind of dealing with the same bullshit. All right, any questions from Kurt or Caleb? No? And anytime, I know Chris like, Jesus Christ, Matt, you're on a soapbox. Anytime we cut one of these, where I start dealing with Spotnose and champagne and spider, I always get on that box because I feel like one gets this bad rap, and the other ones get a pass. And then I see people in the hobby rip on this and proudly show this off. And I'm like, either you're missing some education or you don't understand what the fuck's going on. So either way, here we are to the rescue to help educate you on that. And then just make a decision. Whatever you make is fine with me. All right, that is all we got. We're going to slide over to Patreon and tell you what we're going to do with these babies. Spoiler alert, there's nothing in here I'm going to keep. And we will catch you all next time.